Marcus Aurelius exposes the ego you're too afraid to face. Now pay attention to this, because they lied to you. They told you to believe in yourself, to build your brand, to protect your image, to curate your personality, to defend your opinions at all costs. But what if the very thing you are protecting is the source of your weakness? Today, we are stepping into the mind of a Roman emperor, not the polished statue, not the Instagram quote version, but the real philosopher who ruled the most powerful empire on earth and still wrote in his private journal about how small, fragile, and deluded the human ego truly is. I'm talking about Marcus Aurelius, and if you listen carefully, his teachings will dismantle the illusion you call self. Marcus Aurelius was not just an emperor of Rome. He was a Stoic practitioner living in chaos, wars on the frontier, betrayal in the Senate, plague in the streets. And yet, in his private writings, later compiled as meditations, he never once tried to glorify himself. Instead, he attacked his own ego relentlessly. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Notice what he did there. He separated the mind from the illusion of control. The ego wants control. It wants recognition. It wants validation. It wants to be right. But Marcus Aurelius understood something brutal. The ego is a reaction machine. It flares when insulted. It swells when praised. It collapses when ignored. And that is slavery. Modern life feeds this slavery every single day. You post something online. You check the likes. Someone disagrees with your opinion. And suddenly you feel attacked. Your coworker gets promoted. And your mind whispers, "You deserved that." That whisper? That is ego. Marcus Aurelius would call it a disturbance of judgment. Here's the truth most people avoid. Nothing external injures you. Your opinion about it does. When someone insults you today, on social media, in traffic, at work, what actually happens? Vibrations hit your ears. Words form in your brain. That's it. The suffering begins when the ego interprets it as a threat to identity. Marcus wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In modern terms, you're not hurt because someone criticized your idea. You're hurt because your ego is attached to being seen as intelligent. You're not angry because someone ignored you. You're angry because your ego needs validation. This is where Marcus Aurelius becomes dangerous. He forces you to confront the uncomfortable question. Who are you without praise? Who are you without status? Who are you without the story you tell about yourself? Stoicism does not destroy the self. It destroys the false self. Marcus constantly reminded himself of impermanence. He wrote about how even the greatest emperors are reduced to bones and dust. He reminded himself that fame fades, that applause dies, that future generations will not remember your name. Why? To weaken the ego's grip. Today, people obsess over legacy, over personal branding, over building an image. Marcus Aurelius would laugh at this obsession. He ruled the known world and still told himself, "Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everybody will have forgotten you." That is not pessimism. That is liberation. When you accept that your reputation will vanish, you stop performing for imaginary audiences. Let's bring this into real life. Imagine you're in a meeting at work. You propose an idea. Your colleague criticizes it publicly. The ego immediately reacts. Defend yourself. Interrupt. Prove them wrong. Protect your image. Marcus Aurelius would say, pause. Is your goal truth or victory? Because the ego wants victory. The Stoic wants clarity. Instead of reacting, you ask, is there something useful in this criticism? If yes, you improve. If no, you remain unmoved. That is power, not dominance, not loudness, not intimidation. Control of perception. Another concept Marcus teaches is role awareness. He believed that you are not the center of the universe. You are a part of a larger whole. He compared humans to limbs of one body. Your role is to function well within the system, not to dominate it. Modern ego says, stand out. Be superior. Outshine everyone. Marcus Aurelius says, do your duty. That's it. Not for applause, not for fame, not for ego gratification, but because it is rational and aligned with nature. Imagine how different modern relationships would be if this were applied. Instead of arguing to win, you argue to understand. Instead of posting to impress, you speak to contribute. Instead of chasing attention, you build character. Marcus also confronted the ego through mortality, what Stoics call memento mori. He constantly reminded himself, you will die, not to be dramatic, but to strip away trivial pride. The argument you're obsessing over? Meaningless in a grave. The insult that wounded you? Irrelevant in a century. The embarrassment you replay in your mind at 3 a.m.? Forgotten by everyone involved. The ego inflates temporary moments into permanent identity. Marcus Aurelius shrinks them back to their true size. Here is another brutal teaching. You are not your thoughts. Marcus frequently observed his own mind like an outsider. When anger rose, he examined it. When pride rose, he questioned it. When desire rose, he dissected it. This is psychological warfare against ego. In modern life, people say, this is just who I am. Marcus would disagree. He believed character is shaped by discipline of thought. If you feel jealousy, it is not your identity. It is an impression. If you feel offended, it is not your essence. It is a judgment. And judgments can be changed. Imagine scrolling social media and feeling inferior because someone else appears more successful. The ego says, you are behind. Marcus would say, is this within your control? If not, discard it. If yes, act. No drama, no comparison, no emotional theater, just rational action. This is why Stoicism feels harsh. It removes excuses. It removes victimhood. It removes the emotional addiction to self-importance. And in doing so, it makes you unshakable. Marcus Aurelius did not try to eliminate emotion. He tried to eliminate ego-driven distortion. He knew that when you stop taking everything personally, you gain a terrifying calm. An insult becomes information. A setback becomes training. A failure becomes feedback. The ego screams, how dare this happen to me? The Stoic asks, what is required of me now? That shift alone can transform your entire life. Imagine handling rejection without bitterness, handling criticism without insecurity, handling success without arrogance. That is mastery. And here is the final confrontation. Most people don't want to let go of their ego, because without it, they fear they are nothing. Marcus Aurelius teaches the opposite. When ego dissolves, what remains is clarity. When pride dissolves, what remains is purpose. When attachment dissolves, what remains is freedom. You stop being controlled by praise. You stop being destroyed by criticism. You stop performing for invisible crowds. You become internally sovereign. That is why Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, wrote reminders to himself not to be corrupted by power. Because he understood, the real enemy is not outside you. It is the unexamined ego within. And if you have the courage to confront it, to observe it, to question it, to discipline it, you will gain something far greater than status. You will gain control over yourself. And in a world addicted to image, outrage, and validation, that makes you unstoppable. If this challenged you, if it made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're waking up. Subscribe to Stoic Gateway for more deep, confrontational breakdowns of ancient Stoic wisdom applied to modern chaos. And watch the next video where we break down how Seneca exposed the illusion of control and how it's silently ruining your life right now. Stay sharp, stay disciplined, and remember, the ego is loud, but the Stoic mind is sovereign.